as any respectable artist does, I had a quart of blood laying around. And so I'm sat here thinking to myself, what better way to use it than to turn it into oil paint? Surely it can't be that hard, right? I've made oil paint before. And with the vastness of the internet, somebody must have already had a tutorial showing me their methods so I could put something together easily. And so I went online, and fascinatingly enough, I could not find a single tutorial on how to put together oil paint from blood. Closest I got was watercolor paint, but I already know how to do that. And endless forums of people going, how do you do this? And responses all being totally unhelpful along the lines of, ew, what a weirdo. You want to make oil paint out of blood? How unethical. And so I thought to myself, well, at its core fundamental, blood is just a water-based pigment. Remove the water and theoretically you should be able to turn it into oil paint just like any other pigment. Of course, it wasn't going to be that easy, but I thought it was worth a shot. And so I pulled up my bootstraps, so to speak, and I decided I will be first internet guy to make oil paint out of blood and post my comprehensive by the by. And since this is technically an ASMR channel, I thought I'd do it in a form of delivery that I know how to do best. So here I have footage of me creating the oil paint, and I will talk you through the process. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. If this video gets up to, let's say 50 likes. No, 100 likes. Then I will bite the bullet and pull an Enrico and get that goddamn blood cookbook that I've been poked about. And maybe we'll do a video a la N on blood recipes. Alright, so as I shown at the beginning, you could see the blood was dehydrated. There was a little flame. I had it in a large baking pan. Underneath I had like a wire metal rack so that heat could go under and over. I don't have a food dehydrator, so what I did is I had it in front of a heating element for about 12 hours until it had shrunken down to a very thin, light, dark sheet. It was very shiny, and as you saw in the other picture, it broke very easily, it shattered, and it was interesting because it had the same properties as gelatin, which makes sense. It's often used as a gelatin replacement in recipes. That's why you have things like blood pudding. As such, once you started to grind it up, it just got shinier and shinier as it got smaller, and it actually looked like edible black glitter at one point. Now, for the next little while, you're going to watch me with a mortar and pestle mill it into a fine powder. Now, I tried two different methods, and I got two different results. The first method I'm showing you here is I'm doing it traditionally as such that I'm trying to get it as powdery and thin as possible, such that it'll incorporate into our binding agent. The next method I'll show is I actually pour the binding agent, which in our case is oil, directly into it, and I try to mill it with it. And it was a little less successful, but it gets a vastly different product, and I thought it was fascinating. So, here we are. as you can see, now we've mixed together. We've got our powder on the plate. Mixing the pigment with linseed oil. Linseed oil will be our binding agent, and I guess, well, the oil part of oil paint really is as simple as that. Now, initially I had issues with this. Grind it, but you don't remove all the water, and you start to get chunks and clumps forming, and that is only what I can guess is the blood coagulating. You have it dried enough, but the grinding not fine enough, and then you get what you see with what was in the mortar and pestle the second time around. Very sandy texture, but that in itself isn't a bad thing. It just isn't a traditional silky texture oil paint. It is good for building up like form and shape and texture on a canvas, but not what we're going for exactly. And it had some interesting issues with storage, which I will show you in a second. Now, I personally only had some dollar store tubes. You know what they say about broke artists, right? Starving artists. It's not because we don't get jobs, it's just because all of our tools are so expensive. That's why I've resorted to using blood instead of oil paint. Now, now dollar store and dollar store. Yes, dollar store, plastic tube. And the important thing isn't so much that if it's plastic or metal, but that the light can't get in, so I've covered it with a paper towel. And done and dusted. Oh yeah, and that it seals. Those two things, very important. Don't want air getting in, drying things out. Now, done, dusted. And we let it sit for a couple of days, just to see if the oil separates. And here we go. Now the rougher grit, the oil did indeed separate, and the bottom, it was very firm. It had to be remixed before it was used, but after that, it was buildable on a canvas. It wasn't layered or thin like a proper paint, but it definitely added texture and thickness and darkness into areas. And on the other hand, got a beautiful, rich, velvety, dark, burnt, brownish black. I'd like to think it's closer to like maybe a brick color, but a little darker. And it again had a bit of a texture, but it went on a lot more smoothly. Now, here I'll show you what I painted with it. Here's progress, and boom. For the final painting, I had it on a small 11.5 by 17 wooden cradle board. I had gesso primer. We used the blood paint. I used both kinds. And I had a regular white oil paint just so that I could have some variance. Alright, wasn't that fun.